Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today, Ross Marchigiani, on another great conversation at revowell.com. So today we're going to talk about a pretty highly debated topic, which is cholesterol and the cholesterol myth, what we kind of tend to believe, which isn't necessarily true. There's a little bit of debate about it. So when we first show up to our Western medical practitioner, they take our blood, and if we have a cholesterol reading of 240 milligrams per deciliter or higher, we're considered to have high cholesterol. And the next common treatment is the number one most prescribed medication in the Western civilization, which is a statin. So what exactly is a statin? So a statin is considered a competitive inhibitor. And what that does, basically getting down to the biochemical terms, is that it prevents the production of mevalonate. And mevalonate is a precursor to making cholesterol. And how it prevents the production of mevalonate is by preventing the enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase, which in its real name is considered hydroxymethylgluteryl CoA reductase. So that's a real quick thing what it does. So basically it prevents our biological response or our natural response to producing cholesterol. So it blocks that, inhibits that, which our body naturally wants to do. And basically, what does this cholesterol do? So it has multiple facets. It does a lot of things in our body that are so important. It's really important for cognitive and mental awareness, basically our memory, and you can find that there's a lot of issues with statins with memory loss, cognitive impair, Alzheimer's, dementia. This is because cholesterol is really important and makes up 60%, well, our brain, I should say, is made up of 60% fat, and of that fat being cholesterol. And those, in the cells in our brain, which are made from cholesterol, are how we fire and how we, recall and we memorize things. So if we have lower cholesterol, we're literally killing those brain cells that are made of cholesterol. So again, having that cognitive impair. Also, that 25% of cholesterol is associated with the nervous system. More importantly, associated with neurotransmitters. So basically, what exactly are neurotransmitters? Well, that's how the brain communicates to the body and how it sends signals to basically activate, deactivate, or alter its internal environment. So if we're unable to store cells in our brain or to create brain cells from cholesterol, and we're unable to transmit signals from our brain, or the lack of neurotransmitters, are all going to result in cognitive impair. And basically, again, those cognitive issues. Also, cholesterol is really important in the production of vitamin D. Not a lot of people know that vitamin D is a cholesterol. So if we don't have cholesterol, we can't make vitamin D, another really important aspect of cholesterol. Then next, we're going to talk about cholesterol and heart attack. And we have been taught that cholesterol is associated or directly correlated with heart attack. And we know that the number one cause of death in industrialized nations is heart attack. But if we really look at the new research and the studies that have come out, that there isn't as strong of a correlation as we thought. There was a study done that looked at all hospitalizations of heart attack and found that only 25% of those heart attack issues or hospitalizations had elevated levels of cholesterol. So that, again, isn't a very strong correlation or indication. The Institute for Nutrition and Health found that if we increased 50% of our diet increased our calories in fat, that it increased our nutritional status and had no adverse effects on heart attack factors. So that's a huge statement right there. And we also found, the researchers found, that increasing a diet in fat will normalize our LDL, will increase our LDL particles, which is a good thing, which I will talk about, and also lower our triglycerides. All really good things that are going to indicate the prevention of heart attack or myocardial events. And then another issue is that we've kind of been told the wrong things. We've kind of have been misinformed. The Western diet, we've always been told to have a low-fat diet, to stay away from saturated fats, but that being said, our heart attack related events are still on the rise, and we're still having a lot of issues going on. So what exactly is creating that issue? And I will just discuss that a little bit later on, very shortly. So next, we're going to talk about what is the correct testing. How do we test for cholesterol? And a lot of people know we look at our good cholesterol, which is our high density lipoprotein, and in comparison to our bad cholesterol, which is our low density lipoprotein, or LDLs. But this is really a very oversimplified process and isn't the best correlation or best factor to look at when assessing cholesterol, because there are multiple types of HDL and LDL that both can contribute to plaque formation or the lack thereof plaque formation. So it's really complicated process to look at. And the best things to look at when looking at our cholesterol or testing our cholesterol is going to be our LDL particle size, which I talked about earlier. And if you recall, I said an increase in fat in our diet will increase the size of our LDL particle, making a bigger LDL particle, which is good because the bigger LDL particle has a greater tendency to just travel through our arteries and not, get gummed up or stick to the arterial wall. Whereas if we have those smaller LDL particles, those have a greater tendency to adhere to our arterial wall, thus increasing plaque formation and increasing our risk of a myocardial event or atherosclerosis. So that's really important to look at, is the size of our LDL particle. Next, we want to look at our ratio of HDL versus triglycerides. So we always want to have a ratio of 2 or lower. So for example, if we have, these again are just arbitrary numbers I'm throwing at you. We're going to have, say we have triglycerides of 100 and we have an HDL of 50. That's a ratio of 2. So again, we want a ratio of 2 or lower, with triglycerides being the higher number in comparison to the HDL. Excuse me. And so now, now we come to the bigger picture. How are we having all of these, heart attacks? How are we having all these myocardial events? Well, it's due to the Western diet being so chronically inflamed. So chronic inflammation is going to result in degenerative diseases and result in plaque formation, plaque depositing, and plaque buildup. So the more inflammation we have, the more degenerative issues are going to result. Also, inflammation is going to result in free radical formation. And free radical formation is going to attack our LDL particles and take those good large LDL particles that we want and break them down into smaller LDL particles, the bad particles that will adhere to our arterial wall and create more plaque formation. Next, we consume a diet that's very high in sugar. And sugar is correlated with inflammation. So therefore we, start that cascading effect all over again. Increase sugar, increase inflammation, increase free radical deposit, and increase plaque formation, and then altering the particle size. Lastly, the increase in trans fats. So trans fats is going to cause an increase in triglycerides, an increase in LDL level, and a decrease in HDL, which all are going to attribute to a higher, a more likely risk of having a heart attack or a myocardial event. So basically, how do we prevent that? Well, we want to stay away from any foods that are high in omega-6 fatty acids, so making sure we stay away from various type of vegetable oils. We want to make sure that we have a diet that's high in omega-3 fatty acids, so making sure we're having our coconut oil, we're having our olive oil, avocados, good, healthy, clean fats. We're supplementing well, we're getting good nutrients, good minerals and vitamins, we're exercising, and we're just being very conscious of what we're feeding our body. And that's basically it. So I hope this video helped you. I hope you learned something today. And if you know of anybody that would benefit from this information, please share. Because like I always say, we're all in this together to make a world a better place. And I appreciate you guys watching this video today, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any more questions, please contact me at www.revowell.com. Thanks and have a great day.